Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Joshua Poniatowski, and with me, Alex Taylor.
What up?
The Thanksgiving holiday is over. The fun slate of Thursday, Friday, and Sunday night games we had this week. But, Alex, there's two players that I want you to guess who these guys might be based off their stat lines, okay? Before we do this, I'm going to give you some hints of these are some guys last year, some context, that they finished the season with. So these are guys that are around similar stats as these two I want you to guess, okay? So in 2023, Stephon Diggs, Jahmyr Chase, Keenan Allen, and Devontae Adams had very similar stat lines, and they all finished as
players.
top 15 wide receiver in fantasy points in 2023. So right now, one player on track to get right around almost 115, 120 receptions with 1,200 receiving yards. The second player is, again, breaking the 100-yard reception mark, as well as 1,100 yards ballpark. Again, they're not there yet, but based off how they've done projections, averages, this is kind of where they're looking to turn up. Who are these two people?
All right. 1,200 and 1,100. Those are good, not great. You kind of mentioned top 15 receiver.
Yeah.
JSN's been having a sneaky good year. He's kind of in that cusp 15. Brian Thomas Jr., who I did call as a buy low back in the day. I said he could finish as a top 10. I think he's like wide receiver 11 on the year right now. Another rookie, Ladd. Ladd's been having pretty solid lately. He's kind of on that 10 to 15 cusp. I don't know. Just going off of yards and catches is a little tough to narrow it down. But yeah, I'm gonna say some of those three maybe.
Yeah. So, I would have to do the math, but yeah, JSN looks like he's floating around there. Ladd, potentially. So those are all, I would say, extremely quality guesses. All right. However,
thank you for the quality.
Yes, those are all good quality guesses. I might have misled you a little bit. However, because these two people are in fact, and I never said they were wide receivers, they are in fact not wide receivers. They still catch passes, but they're not wide receivers.
All right, so Bowers and McBride or something.
Those are the two. And the reason why I like to bring this up is because we're talking about two tight ends putting up wide receiver 15 fantasy production. So if you have one of these guys on your team, I feel like it's just you're sitting pretty right now.
I'm kind of curious, just thinking ahead to next year and what we're gonna do with our rankings and obviously Bowers is just like the man. But
clear number one.
We had Laporta last year and he was just the man and just your clear number one tight end and he was kind of going in like that, round 3 and I'm like, are people gonna have like PTSD and like hold that against Bowers? That now it's like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never taking a sophomore tight end early. I don't know. Just kind of curious.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the situation and the mindset that you go in with. Look at Jahmyr, right? Jahmyr in some leagues fell out of the first round because of that inconsistency and some of the quarterback play when Burrows went down and just the years of not being, a top 5 wide receiver consistently year in and year out. So, I think it'll play a part, but honestly, the hype around Bowers right now is unmatched, at least on Twitter and literally everywhere else that we've been looking. So I think it'd be hard to drop him down, but I think he is probably unpopular opinion. His value is at the highest it's going to be right now, just because the Raiders are terrible. They're giving up somewhere around the 4th most points a week to opposing teams. Bowers does not have anybody to compete with. He has Jakobi Meyers, who hasn't broke 900 yards to compete with, right? They don't even have a running back. So I just think eventually when they do get some other viable players, that production might decrease a little bit. So
you don't
but
think
no,
with better quarterback play to kind of go along with that?
yeah, I mean, I think it'll help his catchable ball rate. I'd have to look to see how bad Minshew and now
AOC.
AOC have been. I just think the opportunity is there. And that's what we saw with Laporta this year. Laporta has not had the same opportunity that he did last year because JMO has been back. Their run game has been the best in the league. So they're not passing the ball as much. And we just haven't seen the opportunities that we were used to seeing last year because of all their offensive weapons. And I don't know if that's going to happen to the Raiders, right? Are they just going to go out and draft running back, wide receiver? They have a QB needy team based off what they like with AOC. So yeah, I don't think it'll be as bad as Laporta. I think there'll be a slight downtick, but I don't think it'll be that historic. All right, well, we're going to jump into observations. First observation is my boy Jahmyr Gibbs. He might be in the doghouse. So last week, Gibbs only had 9 carries. Well, Monty had 21. This is significant difference. Gibbs was averaging 10 yards, almost 10 yards a carry. Like we're talking like 9.8, 9.9 yards. And Dan Campbell said, I am not going to run the ball with this man. But maybe this had to do with the offensive drives. I know they switch roles, they switch positions. However, some of you maybe saw this, some of you maybe not. But Gibbs leaked a private kind of picture of a whiteboard that had multiple offensive audibles on the whiteboard. And Dan Campbell just found out about it recently. He actually didn't have a comment when reporters asked him, which is very unlike Dan Campbell. If you saw the picture, some of the audibles were like Kim Kardashian, Caitlyn Jenner, like some fun different audibles like that.
Yeah.
But do you think this impacts Gibbs' opportunities moving forward when we just saw him lose quite a few totes to Monty?
I'm sure Dan Campbell's annoyed. Sure. I mean, you don't want to just give that out for free, but I don't know. He's a good leader. I can see him, maybe limiting Gibbs a little bit, but he's never going to be petty enough to just penalize Gibbs. And then the team too, with anything too extreme, like make it a learning experience and move on. I don't think he, kind of dives too deep into that.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think Gibbs will, if it is anything, it'll be maybe a drive, and it'll be like, all right, back in there. Let's win some football. They're too much in the thick of it right now to deal with that kind of stuff. So
you learned your lesson, right? Yes, coach. Please put me back in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know Jonnu Smith has definitely just been like the wild card, exciting tight end of the year, and in the last month in particular. But let's maybe take a second and put a little bit of respect on the run Mandrews has had lately.
Yeah.
The perennial stud started the year averaging an abysmal 3.4 yards or points per game over the first 4. This included 2 goose egg games in the first 5 games. Then he just discovered that he was really good at football again and has now scored in the double digits, half PPR, of 6 of the last 8 games, and now sits at tight end 5 on the season, which is pretty much where we predicted he would be at the start of the season. He just did it in a way that we didn't really like. The Ravens do have their bye coming up this week, but then Mandrews has Giants, Steelers, and Texans for the playoff stretch. Josh, is he back to auto start status for you?
So I'm just going to add some caveat before I answer your question. The big upside here, is the Ravens defense has been dog water. Like they have been one of the worst defenses in the league. But their offense has been great. And this typically makes for awesome fantasy production for any type of fantasy football on either side of the ball because they're giving up points. You got to put up more points. Like, let's go.
It's like them and the Bengals. Just take anyone in that game.
Exact same situation, right? The Bengals have to put up 30, 40 points a game because they're giving up 30 plus points a game. So, it helps from an offensive production standpoint. But Isaiah Likely's still in town. And over the past 3 weeks, including the week that Likely was injured and out, so 1 game subtracted, he still has almost identical targets to Andrews. He's only got 2 less. Andrews currently has 3 red zone targets over the past 3 weeks, 2 of which resulted in a touchdown. So he got 3 targets, 2 tutties. He's number 2 on the year with 7 touchdowns from a tight end perspective. So in my eyes, I still think he's a touchdown-dependent tight end. Zach Ertz's stat lines over the past 3 weeks have been very similar. He's in half PPR, 15, 12 and a half, 11-point half PPR performances. Zach Ertz has also scored 1 touchdown each game over the past 3 weeks. So to me, he's not in auto start in my mind, but he's a top option, right? In the tight ends, we've seen outside of the big ones, McBride, Kittle, Bowers, Jonnu now. Those are all smash starts. He is still a top option, but not an auto start if you have some of these other guys to add to your lineup of tight ends.
And probably someone will have another guy because, I mean, considering how bad he started, some of the people, a lot of people just dropped Mandrews. Even if you didn't drop him, you probably picked up, maybe like a K. Dotton situation, So you probably have 2 decent tight or Tucker Kraft, who knows? Some of these kind of like mid, all of a sudden new guys coming on the horizon. So, it is kind of a tough conundrum with him.
Yeah. And I mean, the McBride, Bowers, Jonnu, I feel like all of them are somewhat flex spot starts based off of course, what options you have from a flex start, and then run Andrews as a tight end, and you still might get that 11 to 12 point performance in the tight end spot and still get the 20 bomb that we would like to see from the tight ends, in the flex spot. I'm treating them as wide receivers at this point based off of how well they've been doing,
Yeah.
The Panthers played your Bucs this week. How are you feeling during that game, first of all? Like, what was your stress level?
I just have zero faith in our defense to ever hold up. So it was rough. I love Baker. I love, we came down for that kick at the end of regulation. That was great. And then we botch it going into overtime, because we've lost 2 straight overtime games this season because we never got to touch the ball. So finally we got to receive one to start. Then we go down and we miss the field goal, and I was just like, oh God, it's happening. And then just drive down the field, getting field goal range, and it was rough. But Anthony Nelson came in with a peanut punch, knocked that ball out. Poor Chuba Hubbard. I felt bad for him. He was looking pretty rough on the sidelines, kind of lost the first team. But hey, Bucky's the truth, man.
I know he went off this game. Again, I don't think it's a fair assessment of what's going to look like moving forward because these teams are typically not the greatest. And the overtime rule is terrible. I mean, we could probably spend an hour talking about that. But the reason why I brought this up is because the Panthers have been a team to be reckoned with, right? Like, they just took the Bucs down to the wire. Kansas City the previous week. Over the past 4 weeks, they have either won their games or lost by 1 score in very, very close matchups. Bryce, prior to getting benched, right, earlier in the year, we thought he was a lost cause. He was 31 for 56 with 245 yards of all the games he played, with 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of like 44. I think he played the first 3 games of the season. So, those were his stats. Not great. When he came back, though, as a starter, he's been averaging about a 60% completion percentage. He's averaging at least 1 touchdown a game, and he's only thrown 3 picks, with all of them coming about 4 to 5 weeks ago, 2 against the Broncos and then 1 against another team in his second week back. So I don't remember the exact team. But his completion percentage is floating around 82. Or sorry, not completion percentage. Quarterback passer rating is 82. Do you think Bryce Young getting benched is exactly what he needed?
I think it's helped for sure. The benching. I still don't know if he really quite has it. I mean, averaging 1 touchdown a game isn't that impressive, and 60% completion rate isn't that impressive. You know, I think he's gotten a little bit of confidence. I mean, he's still just really small size-wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's going to be the case. Like, you really just got to have that dog in you. And, you know, not to be a jerk on the guy, but like you really got to overcompensate and just like really have that swagger and just be going at people like that. And he still just seems kind of soft.
Timid.
Seems like a nice guy. So I'm rooting for him. He seems very like kind of technically polished and kind of a little bit more like cerebral. I just don't know if he's physically gonna last in the NFL enough. You know, but I do think he's kind of built a little bit of runway for confidence, you know, from like the coaching staff to, you know, have a little bit of safety going forwards. But also in that game, I'm going to jump in for a quick little Mike Evans 1,000 yard season update. Mike came into the game, needing 99.5 yards a game. And thanks to that last second drive and overtime, he had a whopping 118. So now he only needs 95.8 yards per game. There's really no like question or anything attached for this, Josh. I'm just letting you know. I'm probably gonna give you an update on this like every week. I mean, this is essentially my Super
Mike
Bowl.
Evans tracker.
I mean, honestly, I would probably take this over the Bucs making the playoffs. I mean, because it'll just like, dude, it'll just solidify his Hall of Fame career. And like, God, I love that man so much.
Well, hopefully both happen. Like, I feel like Baker and Evans are the core of this team. I know Bucky has emerged as a great running back, but Baker and Evans are going to be the reason if y'all make the playoffs and continue to win games. Those two are going to be the reason for it, I think. Baker went out a couple times during that game, which was tough to watch, and then he came back. You know, dude's just so gritty. I think everybody's rooting for Mike Evans. Everybody wants a 1,000-yard season out of that man. Talking about somebody else that everybody's rooting for, Jameis Winston. I believe this is
also
kind of not necessarily, also used to be a Buccaneer. This is not necessarily a observation from the games this week, and maybe he will put my take to shame tonight because the games haven't happened yet. But I think Jameis Winston has been painted in a corner, and I'm here to stop this, okay? So in February 2020, Jameis got LASIK. He shared that he could not see and had bad vision, and everyone, I mean, he didn't go into this much detail, but he pretty much said, y'all have painted me into a corner. From when I was on the Bucs, I was blind, and I threw 30-plus interceptions with 33 touchdowns. So that's who we knew Jameis, and that's been our mindset, right? Every single week we talk about, Jameis is good for 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. However, after LASIK, that hasn't necessarily been the case. So since he got LASIK, he has a 3,600 pass yards, 27 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. It's not amazing, right? It's not like, oh my God, Hall of Fame quarterback. However, it's not the narrative that we have kind of typically seen when he was on the Bucs, and you lived through it, so you know. But do you think he's stuck? Did we give him a bad rap? What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, Bucs fans know all about this. I mean, first off, you would just see him squinting on the sideline. He'd be like looking up at the scoreboard, like watching the replays, just squinting. I mean, everyone saw it. But then even before LASIK Jameis was visor Jameis. And his like 30 for 30 the year, he would wear like a visor. And everyone kind of wondered if it was like a prescription visor. I don't even know if it was or not. But like people on like the Bucs Reddit page were always talking like, oh, visor Jameis is happening because he kind of wore it and then took it off and then brought it back. But it seemed like he played better with it. So yeah, I mean, good for him to finally get LASIK. I don't know why he wouldn't before that.
Waited.
You know, if he wasn't like wearing contacts or something, you just assumed he was wearing contacts if he needed it. But I don't know. I guess not.
I actually had terrible vision when I played baseball, and I didn't like put 2 and 2 together, and I was still like, I thought I was pretty good. And then when I could see, I was like, what is this? This is a whole different world, right? So I feel for the guy, and yes, he's we need to break that narrative, and we're the first to do it.
Yeah. Well, talking about breaking narratives, you know, the Dolphins, you know, this week have been taking a lot of crap for getting whooped in the cold again. And I understand they, you know, maybe didn't play their best, and you know, the Packers were clearly the better team that day. You know, I'm not really denying that. And I maybe would never trust them in like a real world football, like, you know, prediction setting. But from a fantasy perspective, Tua still finished as QB6 on the week, including the second most passing yards in the NFL. Tyreek, wide receiver 10, and then our boy Jonnu Smith was tight end 2. Josh, do you think people are being a bit too hard on the Finns?
Yes. While I was watching this game, I was also on Twitter and watching kind of the hate that was spewing about Miami. And people were talking about McDaniel's play calling being terrible, the offensive production, or literally anything else that they talk about. I think cold weather games for them are definitely an issue, whether they like to admit it or not. However, if you actually watched that game, you saw that the Dolphins got stopped on one of their drives. They muffed a punt on their own, 10, I think it was. And they went down 14-0 in Lambeau. Against an 8-3 Green Bay team that has a solid defense and good offense. That cannot happen. Can you expect any team who's playing a good competitor to go down 14-0 in the first quarter and expect to win the game? So I think those couple of things early really set them back. They had to change their game plan moving forward. And had to play catch up pretty much. So I don't think that was a good representation of Miami. I'm excited to see them continue to play, move forward. And even with those hiccups, you just told us all the fantasy stats that they finished strong from an offensive showing standpoint. Yeah. And that,
that kind of wacky. What, the Tyreek catch? I mean, yeah. He still finished as wide receiver 10. Was it the most impressive?
A fluke. Yes,
it was. He still had 80 yards. He still had 6 catches for 80 yards on the day.
That's true.
Listen, he's back. Tyreek's back.
I don't know about all that, but yes.
I mean, speaking of snow games, and we've had a lot of them. I mean, last night, Josh Allen whooped up on your 49ers, and they were a team that didn't look good. Given the difference between a cold game and a snow game, I mean, it's a different. You're dealing with the elements at that point. But Josh Allen had a truly wild game. He scored a passing touchdown. He scored a rushing touchdown, and he scored a receiving touchdown from himself. And just a sensational play. A catch and pitch by Amari Cooper, where he pitches it back to Josh Allen, who then runs it in for a score that came from his own original pass. He became only the 4th player to achieve this, the trifecta of all 3 types of touchdowns in a single game. Yep. And according to NFL stat sheets and also fantasy leagues, he gets credit for both a passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown on the same play. So we're talking 10 to 12 points, probably, depending on your settings. Josh, do you think this warrants the double points, or should this maybe be factored somehow differently?
The play was awesome. I mean, in the snow, the decision to do that, Amari also had to be involved and make the conscious decision to flip it to him. Josh decided not to give up on the play. Maybe they split the points, him and Amari. I don't think he should be credited for the full touchdown because he literally got a receiving touchdown and Amari threw him the ball. It's not like he threw himself the ball. So I think that's a little inky in my opinion.
Yeah, he gets a reception, but without a target. He technically look at his receiving stat. There's 0 targets, but he has 1 reception and a touchdown. Like, what is this?
Yeah, so it's a little inky.
I think it should kind of like a rushing touchdown or something. Take the touchdown, but you don't also get the passing aspect of it. Like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the definition of what is considered a passing touchdown, and I'd have to look it up in the NFL, but there's probably some definition that's like the quarterback throws the ball and the person who scores the touchdown after the ball has been thrown gets credited with the receiving. That's probably the definition. Yeah.
Yeah, factually from the NFL, it counts as both. You're like, it just doesn't really make sense. And obviously it's not something you have to worry about that often.
Right.
But.
Yeah. So if you're playing Josh Allen, tough to be you. We wanted to take a moment of just fantasy football respect for Taysom Hill. We heard his tore his ACL. He is 34 at this point. So while being I would say one of the best, if not the best gadget player to ever do it, there's a chance, we're saying he may be returned, but there's a chance he might not return to football again. And in true fashion, true Taysom Hill fashion, he puts up a 40 banger and then a dud the following week, right? Like he got to have respect for the guy.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the fantasy, and if you started him, which Alex, I think you did, right? You started him.
I did last week. Yeah, that was great. Or 2 weeks ago, that was great.
Yeah. So you got the juice out of the man before maybe he has a swung song and goes off into the great football greats. All right, well, we're going to move into waiver wire ads. Remember, these are guys that are available in 50% or less in the leagues. Right now, not a whole lot of options on waiver wires. So just be mindful as we give you our picks. I'm going to start them off with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Again, I spoke about him last week. However, he is 27% rostered still. Another week, another touchdown. The Titans will continue to play close games. Yep. And with Will Levis throwing the ball, there has been more opportunity to the wide receivers. So listen to this crazy statistic. So Jahmyr Chase is number one. So just wide receivers. Jahmyr Chase is number one with 13 touchdowns. Scary Terry is number 2 with 9 touchdowns, tied with Amon-Ra St. Brown with 9 as well. And then Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is number 4 on the list with 8 touchdowns. So top of the touchdown list, wide receiver. He has literally had a touchdown in 7 of the past 8 weeks. So there's only been 1 week where he didn't score a touchdown. So it's just an interesting take there. If you need wide receiver, he's been getting it done. That's all I can say.
He's been getting done with only touch. He only has 20 catches on the year.
Just scores.
For comparison, there's other guys. Scary Terry's got 61. Amon-Ra 76. Jahmyr Chase is 79, and he said there were 20 catches for 8 touchdowns. It's honestly insane. But hey, power to the guy. I mean, I'm into it. I'm here for it. I don't know if Will Levis still looks like he sucks, but we'll see what happens. But
he has his moments.
But the clear number 1 waiver pick of the week and probably the season, I would say, because I feel like we really haven't had any crazy smash waiver picks this season. Isaac Guerendo, the rookie running back out of Louisville. Something is in the water in San Fran. I don't know.
So stupid.
CMC back on IR. Jordan Mason back on IR, and that one kind of snuck up on us. We're like, where did that come from? So this is, to me, spend all remaining fab 100%. If you have 100, spend 100. It doesn't matter. This is like a clear slam dunk play here. In his one, week 8 game where Mason had gotten hurt, he turned his 18 opportunities into 102 total yards and a score. He's now like the only real viable option at running back on the San Fran team that loves to run the ball and does it really well. So, I mean, this is a clear league winner who's probably available in every league, and it's really come down to who has the most fab. If you're one of those cautious people, this was it. This was the week that the cautious people were waiting for. They're like, no, there's going to be something good. There's going to be something good. I got 100. I'm going to keep this 100 for the golden ticket. This is your golden ticket.
Yep, got to pick him up. I had Jordan Mason, as handcuffed in a couple leagues, and I was like, all right, CMC went down. It sucks for the Niners, but at least I got Mason. And then I was like, oh, on IR, fantastic. So all that wasted, But continuing to roll with running backs, I'm just gonna go through a list of handcuff running backs. We've gone through that, like, the waiver wire has been real limited these past couple of weeks. There hasn't been a whole lot of huge hit or misses. But with moving into fantasy playoffs, situations like we literally just saw with CMC and Mason, you need to have some handcuff running backs. And having a third string wide receiver that you're not going to play as your third or fourth option in your flex spot, there's no reason to hang on to these guys anymore. You should have your playoff team ready to go. You should have the guys that you're ready to start. So you need to start rostering some backup handcuff running backs. So Zach Charbonnet, Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, Kamani Vidal, Tyler Algier, and Trey Benson. For me, those I feel like are the big handcuff running backs that you have to own that are available in a lot of leagues. If you got it for roster spot, handcuff some running backs just for the playoff run, just in case anything crazy happens.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like a random like wide receiver 5 isn't going to do anything for you. So it's kind of like,
Yeah,
you know,
you're not.
who has a chance to actually like legit win you a league or something like that. And another guy who might actually help you win a league, I don't know. Adam Thielen, only currently owned in 34% of leagues. Old, reliable Thielen just does old, reliable Thielen things. In his second game back from a hamstring injury, he finished as wide receiver 5 on the week, catching 8 of 10 targets for 99 yards and a score with almost another touchdown. They got taken away by a controversial call. Just really terrible camera work. There just wasn't a good angle to really show it. So it was kind of like you couldn't see on the other side of his body. So I was grateful they called it not a catch.
I'm sure you were upset.
I was surprised. Yeah, I was like, I mean, we watched it. We're like, oh, that's probably a catch. But then they said,
but you
no.
couldn't tell.
I was like, I'll take it. But it was
Yeah,
because it was like all the cameras were on like his backside, so you couldn't see the ball. I don't know. Whatever. I digress. But this is actually another bye apocalypse too this week. We got 6 teams on bye again. So they do face a really tough Philly defense this week. So I mean, it's a tough week, but if you got a lot of buys going on and you need a spot start, I like him. And then also down the stretch, he's got Dallas, Arizona, and the Bucs again. So he could finish strong with this new and improved Bryce Young that we've been talking about under center. Like I said, he's Adam Thielen. Like you kind of know what you're getting. He just kind of goes out and does it. And he had some really impressive catches in the Bucs game. He had one like diving backwards, like caught all the way back here. It was nice.
Yeah, I'm over the past couple weeks, I've worried playing any fantasy player against the Eagles. Like crazy enough, that is the one team where I feel like they've been consistently shutting down offenses, right?
Yeah.
They shut down the Commanders, didn't score more than 18. The Rams, not that they're like anything crazy, but they have a lot of weapons to 20.
Yeah.
And then the Ravens, they only gave up 19 points to the Ravens, who have been a monster offensive powerhouse. So it's always scary. But yeah, again, if you don't have any options, hopefully Thielen gets a bunch of targets from Bryce because they're losing or trying to win the game. He's a good snag, good pickup. Next guy, Caleb Williams. He is rostered in 53% of leagues. We spoke about Caleb before, but honestly, nothing has changed. The Bears fired their head coach. Which, to be honest, I feel like it's only going to make them better. Offensive coordinator Thomas Brown took over the head coaching job. However, since Thomas Brown took over as a head coach, the Bears are passing the ball in the top percentage of the league at a league high of 64%. He is averaging 80 more passing yards a game. And over the past 3 weeks in fantasy, based off your scoring, he hasn't scored less than 20 points. He's thrown the ball 39 times a game on average. He's got 5 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks. All 5 of them came in the past 2 weeks, actually. So if you need a quarterback, Caleb is probably sitting there waiting for you to pick him up. And with Tim Harris taking over as head coach, I just continue to see them having to pass the ball. And riding this out. I'm a DJ Moore owner, so I'm very excited about the change. It's been a huge, just a switch has flipped in that capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for the guy. I mean, it seems like there's been a lot of drama. I mean, we've had a couple of these scenarios with young quarterbacks. I mean, I remember the T-Law, Urban Meyer fiasco. I mean, T-Law's still like kind of up in the air, but I don't know. I always kind of root for these young guys to kind of get a little bit more of a stable surrounding until you can really like evaluate them. So
yeah, they were like, you know what? Let's hire a defensive-minded coach to manage an offensive rookie quarterback. That sounds like a good move. I don't know.
Dude, the Bears are just a train wreck because they keep on like drafting a high quarterback, Trubisky, and then they fire their coach, and then
like
give him
a year
1 year,
later,
and then
right?
they give up on the quarterback, and they bring in Fields, and then they fire that. It was Matt Nagy before, and then they draft another quarterback, and then they keep firing a coach. They just keep on like 1 year. It's like you just got to commit.
Cycle.
Like bring in a guy, and then if you're gonna give him a quarterback, let him draft the quarterback he wants, not like bring in some new guy and hope he can make it work. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. Hopefully they go offensive minded though with their head coaching position. I feel like for a rookie quarterback, you need to have a guy like that because that's the person you're going to be talking to all the time, right? Head
Yeah,
coach,
for sure.
head quarterback. You're going to build that rapport. I mean, you saw, even though Brady or Belichick is a defensive minded guy, but their relationship, right, was very unique. So, all right, we're going to move into the bust or trust section. Quick rundown. I just give Alex the player name, maybe the team, who they're playing against this week, and Alex is going to tell us bust or trust. Not necessarily getting all the stats or data, just kind of based off of what he thinks and what you think what you should do if you got this guy. All right, Sam Darnold versus the Falcons.
Trust.
Okay.
I feel like you just trust Darnold to always get like 15 to 20. Never really. He hasn't had a lot of like awesome games, but he's just been like just kind of like reliable.
I agree. I think Sam Darnold is an absolute trust. Brian Thomas Jr. versus the Titans with no T-Law because there's no chance he's coming back this week. I don't think so.
Love me some BTJ, but I'm gonna say bust. I mean, and I did. Okay. I think the Titans defense is good. And I hyped it up last week, and then they went out and just got exposed by the Commanders.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like, do you think the Jags are just gonna like start shutting people down here soon? Like they're just such a disaster. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, T-Law, I feel like they need to shut that man down and just get him healthy. But rookie wide receiver, like you want to get him to reps, you want to get him more involved. The problem is he has Mac Jones throwing him the pass.
Mac Jones.
So, I mean, and the Titans have had a solid defense. So, I think a bust. It's hard to sit Brian Thomas Jr., but with the situation, if you got other options, I like that decision too. Another kind of QB question mark, Malik Neighbors versus the Saints.
I trust. I mean, he's going to get peppered in targets. And the Saints defense, at least pass defense, kind of sucks. I mean, they're like bottom, I think, fourth or fifth worst pass defense. So,
yeah. Their defense has been abysmal.
I don't think it's going to be,
opportunities.
DeVito's not going to be hitting him with anything long, but I think there's going to be a ton of targets.
Yeah, he'll be like the Wan'Dale Moore effect or Wan'Dale Robinson effect.
Yeah,
the underneath routes like, target.
Really
machine.
Good.
Yeah. Yes, way better for sure. Dolphins defense. So this is a defensive question. Dolphins defense versus facing the Jets. So they got the Jets this week. Aaron Rodgers is, enigma. They lost again. So is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Yeah. What's he going to do?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'll take trust. The wheels are coming off on that team. I mean, even Bryce Hall had like 2 fumbles last week. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the wheels are coming off. I think there's going to be a minimum 2 to 3 turnovers just between Rodgers. Rodgers isn't as accurate this year. It's kind of annoying to watch him play and just. I mean, they try to hit Garrett Wilson on like a 5-yard slant like 5 times a game, and 4 of them he's like behind him every time. And I'm like, what is happening?
I mean, he is a 41-year-old man, and I'm gonna be honest. If I was out there trying to lay a block on a linebacker, like there's no like you saw him try to make that. So I don't know. I'm probably good. More kudos to the dude. 41 years old. Like, come on, that's insane.
Hey, for sure.
All right, so we just talked about Caleb
kind of
Williams.
A douche.
Yes, I'll have to edit that out now. Darn it. So DJ Moore versus the Niners. D. What are you feeling there?
Trust, I think.
Trust. Okay. Yeah, I think the pass. I mean, the Niners. The only thing
Moore's been playing good.
Yeah, he has. He's been playing great, and it's because they've been passing the ball so well. The only thing I'm worried about is that the Niners have just been so bad at offense that they might not need to pass at the rate that they have been. I'm hoping they bounce back, but the Niners I don't think have broken 20 points in 4 weeks.
I mean, the Niners they do have a good pass defense. They have a good defense overall. I don't know if I think it's still a relatively close game. Like I don't think the Bears come in and smoke the Niners. I think I think you're being a little too dramatic.
All right, they just haven't looked good. So
have faith. Have faith.
All right. All right. Next one. This one might be a little bit more tough. Gus Edwards versus the Chiefs Chiefs run defense. Mm-hmm.
I think Gus that one could be a bust. I think. I don't know. I don't love it. I wouldn't say I trust it. That's for sure. I don't know if it'll be a bust, but I don't trust it.
I think we still got to figure out what that running back room looks like. Even though Gus is, technically supposed to be running back 2, we got the rookie in there who could maybe show spurts. And from what we've seen this year, rookie running backs have been, just elite level production. So yeah, I think that's a very difficult spot to trust Gus Edwards against the Chiefs' top run defense. So yeah, I like that bust. All right, we're going to move into the start of the week, smash start of the week. Who you got for us, Alex?
All right, my call last week, Marvin Harrison Jr. was like a push. He ended with 60 yards and a score. It's not terrible, but it was also not the smash that I called. So I was definitely disappointed in that regard. The opportunity was there, though. He had 12 targets on the day, which tied for 4th most in the league.
Yeah.
So that's my small glimmer of a win that I'll kind of hold on to. I called the opportunities. But this week, as much as it pains me, I'm going to put my homer hat aside and make Jakobi Meyers, who you kind of ragged on a little bit earlier, against the Bucs as my smash start of the week. Myers has been a target hog lately in all season, but especially lately. Averaging almost 11 targets a game over the last 4. Those account for 26.7 of his team's target share. And as much as I love to hype up my Bucs, our pass defense has been doo-doo all season. We give up the 3rd most pass yards per game in the NFL. I do still think we come out with the win. But I think Jakobi just carves us up for 9 catches, 125 yards, and a score.
He has been a product of opportunity. Again, him and Bowers are the offense. And then the rookie running back that they were trying out this week. So they're the offense. So yeah, I like that pick. I like Jakobi. He's been a beast. My pick last week was Kenneth Walker. He was unfortunately a bum again. However, he had 19 opportunities. That's kind of what we can expect. That's great from a running back standpoint. He didn't do much with them. The worrisome part is he had 3 red zone opportunities, which he netted -6 yards. Charbs came in. It was, I think, mid-game, and they were like, we're in the red zone. We're going to put Charbonnet in. He got 2 opportunities, and he scored a touchdown on one of them. And I think one of them was from the 8 or 10, so he's kind of far back.
Yeah. It was annoying.
It was so frustrating as a Kenneth Walker owner, and just knowing what he's capable of. So this was a big miss, simply due, I think, to his performance, but also the opportunities there. He gets a touchdown. It's not looking so dreary, but so that was a miss. But bouncing back, so I'm gonna go with the Seahawks versus Arizona. So I'm putting it out in the universe. Trey McBride,
divisional game.
Is a big deal. Trey McBride is going to get his first touchdown this week. He's going to have, which is insane, right? We just talked about Nick Weston
very insane.
in Jigma, who had, what do you say? He had 30 catches and 7 touchdowns, and McBride has
20 and
20.
8.
Yes, 20 and 8
touchdowns.
And McBride has 60
Absolutely
to
insane.
70 receptions and no touchdowns. So it's bonkers. I think he has 73 or 72 or somewhere around there.
73 catches.
73, yeah. So no touchdowns, but I'm putting it out in the universe. Even though Seattle D has looked solid, I'm hoping for a monster game here. 7 catches, 92.5 yards, and he's going to get a double touchdown. Wait, Monster Graham.
How does a 0.5 yard work? Is this an over or under? It's just a call.
It's set 92.5. So he's gonna have over 92 yards. How about that?
Okay. All right.
So now the Cards did put up 6 points last time they faced him a couple weeks ago. So they're gonna be fighting. They're gonna want a revenge game. It's not at Seattle, right? 12th man's not in the picture. So I'm riding with it. I really hope it happens. McBride needs a touchdown. At some point, the coaches have to be like, McBride, we're going to get you a touchdown. Let me scheme something for one of my better players.
They all have to know about it. They all have to know about it
for
at
sure.
this point. This is getting
he must have
insane.
0 touchdown incentives. Because if not, I feel like he'd be bitching about it.
Well, he's probably on his rookie deal. I don't think rookie deals have him, I feel. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Probably right. Yeah, I don't know either. We'd have to look into that. But that's all we got for today. Appreciate y'all listening. If you like what you heard, like and subscribe. If not, thanks for hanging out with us. And as always, go steal a championship, and we'll see y'all later.
Peace.